Good afternoon and welcome once again to In the Hot Seat with Deborah Fennella and
Tony Go. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Now, unfortunately, we're running a little bit late this afternoon because we've had a few technical problems in the studio. So sorry that we're running a little bit behind. But we're really excited and blessed to have in the hot seat today, all the way across to Memphis, Tennessee, celebrity singer, songwriter, author, entertainer, Liz Presley. Good afternoon, Liz. Hopefully the internet's working okay.
How are you there, Liz? How are you, Tony?
Good afternoon, Liz. Yes, we finally got internet.
At last. I think like take 3, isn't it?
Bless you. So sorry, Liz. We've had a few problems, haven't we, in the studio today with the internet, unfortunately. So sorry. Thank you so much for bearing with us. Bless you.
It's okay. Sometimes my dad did 60 takes, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yes. Yeah. I think he's actually linking in with us from heaven above, actually, don't you?
Oh, definitely. Yes, there's no doubt about that. I feel that.
Yeah. I think he definitely is. Now, Liz, please tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, please.
Oh, my name is Liz Presley, Elaine Elizabeth Presley. So Liz Presley is really a nickname for Elizabeth. And basically, I just tried to use my whole name one time, which was Elaine Elizabeth Presley. But then somebody came up and said, well, we just use Liz Presley. It's a lot easier to use, and a lot easier for album covers than my name again. So, so now I'm just Liz Presley, but my actual name is Elaine Elizabeth Presley. And I was born in Essex, England, and I came over to America in 1984. And then, of course, I came home to Graceland much later on. And here I am all these years later, 2021.
You say you come from Essex, England, is that right? Cool.
Well, my DNA. Sorry?
I was going to ask you.
I had a fantastic childhood. It was really great. Yeah.
And what was the happiest times, do you think, you can recall that you'd always think of?
I had lots of happy times because I was raised on, lucky enough to be raised on a farm. And so we used to like bale hay, go pea picking, potato picking, ride our bikes, play practical jokes, go to the sweet shop, stuff like that. Going to see the Cliff Richard concert was really great in Braintree. That was wonderful. I was also a Cliff Richard fan as well. And just doing fun things really in Coggeshall, you know. Yeah.
You also used to love picking strawberries as well, didn't you, Liz? And used to bring home loads of strawberries for your mum.
Strawberries and blackberries and gooseberries and apples and pears and everything really, you know. Yeah.
Did you used to help your mum do the baking when you brought all of those wonderful fruits home?
Yes, she did. She did do it. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Where's that gone? Hold on. Don't even know where my phone is. Sorry, I apologize. Anyway, so I did all that, and my mother used to do the baking and stuff like that, and I used to enjoy those pies and things like that. So that was really great.
This is really exciting. What occupation, Liz, did your dad and your mum actually do throughout your childhood? Because I believe that your dad was actually in the military himself, wasn't he?
Yes, my father, the one I was raised with, was in the military, and he was in the army, and so he was in the army. And when I was young, we lived in a little house near the army barracks, and it was like no running water and stuff like that. So you used to have you used to have your baths in the little metal tub when I was a baby, and when I got older, I used to go out to the outhouse, and then later on, we were moved to Coggeshall, and this beautiful home was built for us. You know, a 3-bedroom beautiful home, brand new for us to live in, and I lived in there until I left.
It sounded really idyllic after reading your book as well. I can actually relate to you being, a forces child. So my husband used to be in the RAF as a fireman, and
Yeah.
we used to live in a forces home as well. And I say the forces home was actually in Colchester, wasn't it? Like you explained in your book.
Yeah, Marks, just down the road of Marks Tay was where we lived in that one particular house. And when they lived on the barracks, of course, I probably wasn't even born then. But when I was born, we lived into just outside of Marks Tay, which was, is all army, as you know, from Colchester. And then later on, like I said, we moved to Coggeshall, and that beautiful home was built for us, which was really nice. So then we had running water and things like that, and bathrooms.
I can hardly hear you there, Liz, actually. Hopefully the viewers can actually hear you as well. I don't know if there's a problem in the studio with the actual sound. So sorry. Is there a problem in the studio with the sound? So sorry. Had a bit of a problem there. Can you actually still hear us, Liz?
I can hear you wonderfully, yeah.
You can hear us? You sound a little bit quieter, actually. I can hardly hear you. So I don't know if you turn your sound down, bless you.
Is your microphone turned down?
My sound is fine. So look here.
I don't think it's actually a problem in the studio.
Oh, okay. I'm going to check the mic here. Audio. Yeah, my audio seems to be fine. Yeah.
So sorry.
It's okay.
So getting back to your childhood and growing up on the farm, must have been a very happy time in your life during that time of growing up in the farm. But what occupation did your mum do, Liz? Did your mum actually work as well? Because I know later on your dad did work very hard on the farm and used to enjoy working on the farm with your brother and your sister. Did your mum actually work as well, Liz?
It was actually a confusing time because even though I was happy and riding my bike and working, I was also working on the farm as well, even as a young child, and then working in the woods as well down the street from that. It was also very confusing because as a child, even though I was actually very happy and very bouncy, I was really oblivious to things that are going on. I didn't really, not like children today where they know what's going on and know their mum and dad and stuff like that. I realized now I was oblivious, and my mother didn't work. She worked in the Red Cross, which is when they're in the army and stuff like that, but she didn't work. She looked after the household, and and then of course that father went to work on the farm. But it was really, really you don't think at the time, because I thought they were my real parents at the time. And so I just took that situation as what it was like for everybody. But it wasn't, I realize now. So I was kind of oblivious to things, and it was kind of like a distant thing. I was very distant to the father because, he turned out not to be my father. And also I realized now I was also distant to my mother, even though I loved her very deeply. I see now it was still a distant relationship, a disconnected.
So sorry, Liz, I can't actually hear you. I don't know if it's the actual mic on that here is actually playing up. I can hardly hear you. Studio, can you turn up the sound, please? Because I can hardly hear Liz as she's talking. So sorry, Liz.
That's okay.
So I can hardly hear you.
Very distant in the background.
Yes. I don't know if it's the actual studio, turn down the actual sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Can you actually hear us clearly, Liz?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you fine. Yeah, I can hear you fine.
It must be the internet or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. No. The mic's actually on as well.
The microphone's on.
Yes. So I don't think it's actually the internet. So getting back to your childhood, Liz, it wasn't always easy, was it? As a child back in those times, and also working on the farm and supporting the family and everything, wasn't it? It wasn't always easy.
No, it was definitely. We were kind of living really in semi-poverty, really, in a lot of ways, but it was still okay. We're still happy and bouncy and stuff like that. But of course, there was lots of problems going on. But when you're a child, you don't know about those problems, really. You just try to live and be a child, and you kind of bump into these problems and stuff. But I realize now, I've gone through my entire journey, that really my childhood was not normal, not really, and it was kind of distant and lost. And I was just making myself happy and bouncy and doing things to make myself, okay. And I didn't recognize the distance really between the father in the beginning. And I didn't even recognize the distance in my mother, even though sometimes I slightly did, but I didn't even know what that was because I thought they were my real parents. I thought that's the way you acted in families. But I saw other families were slightly different than ours. And so now I fully realize that it was distant. It wasn't normal. But I made it kind of normal, you know, by being happy and bouncy myself. And that continued up until I left. And then when my father died in 1977, I became very lost. And my real father died. I became very lost, even though I didn't know he was my father. And that was a very confusing time. And so I kind of went on a journey through life until I found my way back home.
You certainly did, didn't you? Because say on reading your book, going back to like Dennis Maurer, who you thought was your father back then, being obviously a military man, he was very strict, he was very rigid, wasn't he? And he gave you a bit of a hard time. And your mum felt the need to protect you and support you and look after you, but you always had this longing that you didn't belong in that family. And they always say that we have this deep longing within ourselves when we know something isn't right. And you knew, didn't you, from a very early age that even though you believed that they were your family, you knew deep down that you never really felt part of that family and almost like separate to that family, didn't you?
Yes, and not only, everything you just said is totally correct. I didn't feel like I was part of the family, even though I was part of the family, but then I did feel part of the family because I thought that's how it has to be. So it's very, very confusing like that. And, you know, as I grew up, you know, it was an amazing journey of discovery, and it was a very dark journey and a very emotional journey of searching and not knowing what you're looking for. And you're just actually searching and walking in darkness. It's a bit really like, imagine walking down the street and you decide to just try to find what you're looking for, but you don't know what it is. And so you just go on this journey to try to find you or whatever it is you're trying to find within yourself. And it was a wonderful moment, you know, later on, even though it was still, don't get me wrong, it's a continuous, it was a continuous confusing journey. It really was for a very, very long time, even up until probably 2020. You know, because you're constantly discovering, even though you see the DNA and you see that family's DNA and you see they don't match you as being mom and dad and stuff like that, you have to go through those emotions as well. Like, oh my goodness, they really were not my parents, you know, I was right. And then of course you have to go through the thing that you're right about your, you know, what you're thinking, you know, because everybody, when you come home to Graceland, they're screaming and saying, "Oh, you're crazy!"
You used to love to sing and to dance. And at one point, Dennis, you know, mentioned about Elvis, and he refused to book singing lessons for you because you had that natural talent from a child like your amazing dad did, and you were sing and dance. And it was really sad that he didn't, you know, support you, because I'm a singer as well as yourself, and it does really, you know, upset me to feel that you didn't get that support, but you do now, because you do amazing work performing and following the footsteps of your dad Elvis Presley, because I say he was such an amazing earth angel, because I truly believe that he is an earth angel, and now he's in heaven, he's watching over you, and you are an earth angel as well with your music and everything that you share. And it's not been an easy journey for you, because you've gone through so much, and it's not until reading your book I realised how much you've gone through in your life. And I think you're one remarkable, inspirational, amazing lady. And I feel so blessed to read your book, Liz, because you never give up, no matter what's thrown at you. You pick yourself up and dust yourself back down, regardless of what Dennis put you through in your childhood. And then after your Dennis and Mildred split up, and your mum then at the time went to live with her mum, didn't she? And Dennis moved somebody else in. And then your path got really difficult after then, didn't it? Because you then went to Balls Court, and that was a difficult time. You went through a lot of bullying, but your faith in God carried you through, because you would regularly go to church, Liz, wouldn't you?
Yes, my faith in God and my faith in what I was searching for, you know. And then when I found out who I was so free, you know. So even though I had a really tough time in the beginning, when I found out who I was, and up until that time, it was, you know, it was nowhere near as hard as what I had already gone through. It was like I was free, but now I just had to, you know, and now I just had to. I never tried to like claim to be me. I just was me. And so if it was you're claiming to be you, I don't claim to be me. I'm me. I came home and I'm just me. I'm home as me. So yeah, it's nowhere near as hard now, no matter how hard it is, as it was trying to find out who I was.
And it must have been such a huge relief after everything that you went through
Yeah.
to finally find, you know, your true identity. And like, you know, throughout the book, you explained you always had this sort of strong connection with Elvis, because you even rang him up when you was 13, didn't you, on the telephone? And he was concerned about his health.
Yeah.
And he said to you, live your life and be free and don't worry. And no matter what was thrown at you, good or bad, that carried through and gave you that strength, didn't it? You know, during the hardest times, even when you was homeless, you always knew that your dad was watching over you as your guardian angel, which I truly believe that he was and still is today.
He definitely was. And there's lots of things have happened since I've been home to show that he was, you know. And
easy for you, can it?
There's no way I could have survived all the things I survived without some help from above, you know.
No.
It would be impossible. You know, basically, give you an example, when I was 17 years old and I was walking the streets of London where everybody was either doing prostitution or drugs, the people that were on the streets, I would just kind of walk past them and walk through that, you know. And even then I thought it quite
and you was protected through that time in your life. And also you did help a lot of people, Liz, didn't you? Because you came up with a scheme to help those that didn't have any money to buy their own home. And I used to work in estate agents, so you know, I fully understand all about mortgages and things like that, because I used to work at Nationwide Building Society. But you also used to be a mortgage advisor. You would support people to get on that property ladder. You invented this scheme to help loads of people. I'd say you're such a remarkable lady to actually afford to buy their house, where they would put literally £500 down, and then they would have to pay the rest, you know, after 3 years, percentage, didn't you?
Yes. And actually, fact, when I was in London, I was, you know, working in Trust House 40 Hotel. In fact, they looked after me for 7 years. And my dad actually was head, of course, doing business with Trust House 40, but I did not know that. And so they looked after me for 7 years. They gave me everything. I lived in a 5-star hotel and I worked in different hotels they owned. And then, of course, I had a business. And so this businessman helped me as well, who on Gray's Inn Road, he said, listen, he says, you can't afford anything. He said, but I'll let you use my address and I'll give you some advice. And the advice he gave me, he said, listen, he said, you're never going to make any money trying to make money. He said, you got to learn how to create it. He said, within 100 yards of here, you could make $1 million. You just got to figure out how. He said, and so I designed the mortgage advisory service, and that became the very first mortgage advisory service in the world. And then later on, it wasn't because, you know, I didn't really think about it. I then started seeing all these mortgage advisor services, and I thought, and I realized much later on, oh my goodness, I designed the first one of them. And I had a write-up in the paper too about that in my company at the time. And so I'm quite proud of that, you know. No.
You did, Liz, and you're very clever, because you also used to sell signs, didn't you, for businesses? You're multi-talented, and even when you didn't have much money in your pocket, you would again come up with a plan, and then next minute another business adventure, and you always fell back on your feet, and that shows the pure strength and determination within you that you never gave up.
Yeah,
and that's where I find you truly remarkably inspirational, because of everything that you've gone through, and you've got such a heart of gold, and you also do support many charities as well, don't you?
Yes, I do. That's right, and would have helped lots of people. In fact, that's the basis. You know, I would like to say that to the world, because I think that is the most important thing for people to understand. Ever since I was born, you know, the basis of my whole entire life and being, especially now I've found myself and I know who I am, is giving to other people. When I sing on stage, I concentrate on giving to people. I don't do it for me. I do it because I want to see them smile. I want to change lives. When I give money, you know, and things like that, sometimes I give all my money, you know, I don't have any left sometimes. You know,
you're a very humble lady, Liz, aren't you?
Well, it's not that I want any credit for that. What I'm saying is, though, my passion is not to seek fame. My passion is to help people. And I realized when I realized who I was, later on, I said to myself, wow, I can help a lot more people now. You know, so it hurts me sometimes when people get in my way of that, because they do when you're me, or someone, you know, someone like me. And so I feel they're taken away from people when they do that. So my goal is to continuously help people throughout my life. In fact, I can't really stop it because it's born within inside me. You know, I can't stop helping people. That's
And
what
you
I
also support, don't you, the anti-bullying campaign? Because, you
yeah.
know, I'm very much against bullying. And unfortunately, there is a lot of people in the world that do bully, and it's unacceptable. And there's no need for it at the end of the day. And kindness is the way forwards, to be kind to one another. And as I've always brought my children up, if you haven't got anything nice to say, keep your opinions to yourself, because words do actually hurt. But
It's
as
not,
Paul McKenna normally says, when someone's been unkind to you, secretly they're inspired by you and wish they were more like you. But
yeah.
unfortunately, words do actually hurt, Liz. And you've come under scrutiny and attack, as I've read in your book, by a lot of people. And it just breaks my heart, to be honest, that people can be
Yeah.
so cruel and so nasty, and there's no need for it. It needs to stop. In order to bring positive change in this world, we need to be kind to one another and support one another, because everyone's got their journey. And some people's journeys are harder than others, and it's supporting that person through their journey and being compassionate for what they've gone through. Do you
Yeah.
agree, Liz?
I do. In actual fact, what you just mentioned is extremely emotional for me, because I was really fighting in the beginning, saying, you know, because the first 4 years home, you know, with my real dad, Elvis Presley, it was an attack like you would never believe. And so I came up with the term, haters are killers. They stop the hate. Because people don't realize when somebody's at home getting drunk and on behind a computer attacking somebody vulnerable. To me, I was not as vulnerable as that, even though I am vulnerable because I have this inner strength of my family, which I'm lucky. But, you know, a lot of them are vulnerable and they kill themselves. So haters are killers. They stop the hate. And when Ben died, it devastated me so greatly. That
So it's just heartbreaking, isn't it? You know, my
that,
children have
that
gone through bullying throughout
yeah, it was
childhood,
devastating. Yeah, I
and
didn't,
there's just no need for it, to be honest. I've gone through bullying myself, where people bullied me, and
yeah,
it's about standing up to the bullies and sort of saying it's time for change. It's time for positive change, and kindness is the way forwards.
yeah,
And 9 times out of 10, it's other people's ego and lack of understanding, but
yeah.
when they just set out to sabotage or hurt somebody else. But how are we going to change this world if we don't do the inner work on ourselves and change ourselves, become a better person? And that's where you're supporting the charity. And again, no matter what you've gone through, you're still shining bright, and you're a bright star to this world, Liz. And my advice to you is never change, because you're doing such an amazing job.
You are indeed, yeah. Cyberbullying, you find you get a lot of that these days?
Well, now I can see. The thing is, here's the thing. I say it like this. In the beginning, I was flawed every single day. And you know, so you have to get up, and it was really hard. But because I was shocked, I didn't understand what it was. I didn't understand this evilness, this level. And so that's why I did the haters, to stop the haters are killers. But then now I don't care about it at all. It doesn't bother me at all. You know, of course, when I see it, if I see something negative, something stupid, I feel more embarrassed for people now than anything else. It's like so unknowledgeable, you know. I was like, you're so unknowledgeable, you know, it's just ridiculous. So I feel it's pathetic. But because Ben had also committed suicide, you know, and that was part of
Exactly.
it.
It's
Was
all
also
about saving lives, isn't
and I
it?
don't care
Because you
what I
never
don't.
know what a person's going through. And I've heard a lot of my friends have actually taken their own lives due to bullying. So it is all about stop the bullies and stop bullying, even on social media or phones. It's time for change, and it's important that we, you know, make this positive change now.
Absolutely,
make a
but
difference in the world and lead the right way forward, Liz, isn't it?
yeah, it is
But
time
you
to change.
also support children with cancer. You ran the marathon, didn't you?
I did.
And you raise a lot of money for children with cancer. You've
Yes.
also set up your Princes and Princesses to help children that are terminally ill have the wonderful opportunity to go into Graceland. It just shows how wonderful you are. And also you're arranging now for the coach tours to go to Graceland, where you actually pick up people and then drop them off, and then they actually watch films of your dad, Elvis.
Well, yeah, the actual fact, let me tell you how that happened. I wanted to do wonderful things for my family. You know, a lot of things when I came home happened. You know, you'll be amazed what happened when I came home to Graceland that my Father from heaven helped with. You know, and of course I designed 300 miles to Graceland, where it was taking people 300 miles to Graceland, and now Graceland actually does tours at Graceland. you know, so
It's a
basically that
long
would
way,
help with
isn't
that
it? It's
idea.
300 miles as well, and you pick people up for those 300 miles and then drop them back again, don't you?
Yeah. So, but now we haven't done that 300-mile thing because Graceland changed the program, and they now what they do is they take people. I'd still like to do the 300 miles, and the reason why is because within 300 miles of where you live, if you've got a museum, you've got something, people don't go there as easy because they're only 300 miles away. So if you say you're going to take them, they will then go. So that's the idea, and we have millions of fans within 300 miles radius of Graceland. We can pick up and bring to Graceland. And I did a experiment. I asked people from within 300 miles, would you like to, have you been to Graceland? No. Would you like to go? Love to. Why haven't you been? Just haven't thought about it yet. It's close. I've been having it in my mind, but I never got around to it. Well, how long ago did you think about it? 25 years ago. Okay, so if you had a bus to bring you to Graceland, would you go? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to go to Graceland. So I designed 300 miles to Graceland. And then, of course, they came up with different ideas. Then I also wanted to help children. I wanted them to be able to say that they were inspired by Elvis Presley for singing. So lots of them are regardless of that. But I wanted to bring children who didn't know about Elvis Presley as much, believe it, there is some, to Graceland for them to be inspired. And then my mum came up with, along with the kind of that idea as well, the Graceland camp, which I was very proud of, And so we kind of we kind of design things together that way. It's kind of interesting. I've got some brilliant ideas, which I believe they're brilliant for Graceland too for the future, which will change how people tour Graceland and give them a much even bigger experience, So you can bring the fans who are Elvis Presley fans and the ones who are not Elvis Presley fans as well. And so many things we're working on right now that that I'm part of for me designing, but not necessarily part of with the executives at Graceland. I design things myself.
Have you ever got to a stage where you feel a little bit down, and you taking yourself on a self tour around Graceland, just reminiscing? You ever find that place?
Yeah, in 2016, I went home to Graceland to put some roses on my dad's grave and to talk with him. That was the most difficult journey. I didn't even think I'd make it up the driveway. And it was a funny thing happened when I went up there. It was raining and I couldn't get the umbrella. It's a brand new umbrella. And I couldn't get the umbrella to go up. It kept coming down, And they was helping me put the flowers on the grave and things like that. And I was allowed to do that before the fans came, which was nice, which was a good moment I spent. But then when I walked down after I finished talking with my father, and I walked down to go down towards the gate, the umbrella just went up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, Dad, that was funny,
That's one of the biggest things that's made you kind of remember and giggle out loud to yourself. What comes to mind when you're going around Graceland? What one thing makes that biggest giggle for you?
I think a lot of times I'm a ghost at Graceland, because when I go home to Graceland, I have all these feelings of my father and my family in my heart and soul. And I do things at Graceland. I've had meetings at Graceland and things like that. And but sometimes I'm alone as a ghost at Graceland, walking around Graceland, remembering and reminiscing all the things about my father and about me that I've experienced, in my life and from my childhood upwards, but a lot of people don't know about. So that was very sad actually in the beginning like that. But now I just accept it. I go there sometimes and they got new staff and they say, what's your name? And I say, Presley. And he says, are you kidding? I says, no, sir. It was hilarious one time when I had a meeting at Graceland.
When you get home, Liz, to Graceland, it must have been so emotional for you because you had many trials and tribulations, didn't you? And you were determined to get back to Graceland. So that very first time that you did get back to Graceland and you were home, the very first time where you actually belonged, how did you feel?
Well, here's the funny thing is, I used to take to back up a little bit from that and then give you the experience of that. This is the thing, okay? And I hope my mum is listening to this right now because it's so important that if she is, to think of this. When I used to take my daughter looking at houses, before when she was born and stuff like that, we used to go look at houses on the weekend. I was always looking for this beautiful big white house I wanted, you know, and with the lions in the driveway and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I finally saw Graceland, I was like, whoa, that's what I had in my head, you know, where'd that come from?
Oh,
You know, and but when I
it's
went
that
to
feeling,
Graceland,
Liz, isn't it? I'm home at last. And, you
yeah,
know, I can imagine in your mind,
well,
you could see your dad smiling back at you, pleased that you're finally home where you belong.
well, yes, but it's like this, you see, it's like that ghost thing, because now here I am walking up the driveway, you know, and even though some staff know who I am, they're told to keep quiet and not say anything. So I walk up the driveway and I go and see my dad. And I remember last time I used to look over to see if my mum was looking through the window.
Oh,
But she,
bless you. Your mum is a remarkable lady, and she does an awful lot of charity work as well, doesn't she? And you did actually go to Liverpool and actually saw your mum when she was in Panto, wasn't she?
I did.
Which was
I
also
bought it.
very emotional for you.
Yeah, I bought it.
And you
One of
must
the
be so
funny things,
proud of your mum and also your
yeah,
sister Lisa Marie, bless you.
yeah.
And it's
Thank
so
you. Yeah,
wonderful that you can all work together and share these fantastic ideas and take Graceland forwards in loving memory of your dad. And you're also in the midst of doing a song together, aren't you, with Lisa Marie, which is due out at Christmas time, a charity single that you're going to be doing.
yeah.
You've got so many things on the go and exciting and wonderful opportunities coming in this year, because it's not been easy with COVID as well, has it? I mean, how have you all been coping at Graceland with COVID? Because obviously people not being able to come and, you know, visit Graceland, have they? So have you all coped through the, you know, the pandemic?
Well, it's actually been a little bit devastating. Excuse me, I'm crying, but
Oh, I'm
it's,
so
it's
sorry.
very
I'm so
emotional.
sorry.
It's very emotional because
So
now
sorry, I
I'm
didn't
home.
mean to make you cry. Bless
No,
you.
so no, okay, because now I'm home properly. You see,
Oh,
in my mind properly. You know, all those things in the past are like the fighting and struggling to be home and to do my job and stuff like that is now kind of,
bless you.
whew,
I feel
you
quite
know.
emotional as you're talking. It's made me feel emotional because I know what you've gone through. And as I was reading your book, I felt really emotional myself.
Yeah,
20's
yeah,
not been easy.
yeah. So, but I'm
Yeah.
excited. You know, I'm excited for.
How often? Sorry, I'm really concentrating on because I can't hear you. I'm deaf in one ear as it is, and I'm just trying to concentrate on what you say. So forgive me if I pull faces and I kind of reach out to you. How often do you try and get together as a family and maybe have a meal or a celebration?
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, here's the thing is, okay, I'm going to explain it to way exactly how it happened. You know, I wanted to have a dinner at Graceland with my mum. You know, I did. And of course, that has not happened at Graceland yet because we're a tourist attraction and everything. They don't even get home because my mum's busy. Everybody's busy, but that's not the real reason. The reason is, you know, even though I'm home at Graceland and I'm doing my job and I'm creating all these things and everything else, we're owned by another company as well, so it's not exactly easy, that part, you know. And so I went to dinner with my mum at an event she was having, private event. I've been with my mum 3 times. And even though it hasn't been like sitting there chatting and hugging her and all that sort of stuff, it's been a very loving experience. You know, I've been there when I went to Nashville with my mum. Well, she went and I went, you know, and she was doing the celebrity thing, and I was behind the thing, being looked after by the security guard. By the bodyguards, basically.
And so, I know what you've gone through.
Yeah, so those things, those things,
so much as a family as well.
Yeah, those experiences were really good because I was there with my mum, you know, even though it wasn't totally close, it still was close from a distance. Like example, the closeness I had with my mum in England was a distant, kind of a disconnected closeness. But when I went to dinner with my mum in Memphis, Tennessee, in the Hilton Hotel, and I sit on another table and she's sitting on another, there were so many close moments, and I was so in awe of being proud of her, of who she is, to connect together, connected sort of thing. And it was a very emotional but very proud and wonderful moment.
I can imagine when you hugged your mum for the very first time as well, Liz, how emotional it must have been for both of you, and also your sister as well. I haven't going back to your wonderful book, but
yeah, I haven't got to hug her.
You've never ever given up,
no.
You know, and I think you're a true inspiration. I really do, Liz, and you still shine your light and open your heart and very compassionate to other people and never give up, and your faith always keeps you strong. Also the fact that your dad is very much around you, supporting you, and granting wishes to the children, bless them, that are terminally ill, and making their dream come true, and also the children with cancer. it must be so emotional for you. It makes me feel emotional that children having to suffer so much, but just to see their little eyes light up when they're finally at Graceland. So I know at Christmas time you decorate it beautiful. I've never been myself. I would love to go one day, but I've actually seen it in the Hallmark movies where people got married in the actual movie, and it just looks so beautiful. And also at Christmas, I did read that you do decorate your dad's grave, all of you, don't you, with beautiful flowers, and you spend a lot of time, again, making it all beautiful at Christmas for your dad, don't you?
Yes, and when I went to, when I go to Graceland, it's always an experience for me. And I have to kind of course, obviously be professional at Graceland. And but there's this little girl that came up to me one day, and she wasn't very well. And that's how I designed the Prince and Princesses program for Graceland. Basically, when we see somebody who comes to Graceland who's a little child and they have cancer, and the parents bring them because they feel that'd be a good experience, from which it is. I'd like us to be able to give them a little dolly, a little teddy bear, show them that love, and because it's a wonderful thing, when they see these children, their eyes light up, they light up. And so I'd like to be able to do that for them. That's where I come up with the idea for that.
It certainly does, Liz. Now, I'd like to talk about Irene, because she was also a huge influence in your life, wasn't she? Because you finally got your wish. You was able to perform and to, sing, and you had some vocal training. And she actually invited you, didn't she, to sing on her album? And there was like 10 songs, and you spent time together, didn't you? And you also won an award, and she won 2 awards as well. Tell us a little bit about that time, Liz, in your life.
Well, what it was, in actual fact, I landed in New York City. Irene had been a friend of mine. We've been working on these songs, and she decided to do the album herself eventually, which is fair enough, because she wanted to have that credit for that. But we remained friends, and I landed in New York City. And of course, I don't try to get anything off anybody. So when I landed in New York City, I had $750 in my pocket. And so I found myself sitting there homeless, crying. And so I went to a homeless shelter. And then I said to them, and they said to me, we're sorry, we're closed, and not only that, this is a man's shelter, because I had no experience on the homeless shelters, because when I was homeless in England, I didn't go to them. I just stayed with myself on the streets, sort of thing, when I was younger. So this is the first time I actually went, because I was older, and I thought, I'm older now, I can't survive out here like I used to be able to. I need to go somewhere and be safe. So I went to the homeless shelter, but they were closed, and not closed, but kind of finished for the day. And there was just homeless people running around all over the place. And they said, this is a place, this is a man's one. And I said, oh, okay. And they said, what's your name? And I said, this is Elaine Presley. And they said, Elaine Presley. I said, yeah. And they said, wait here. And I ran upstairs, and then this lady came down. She said, come with me. She took me upstairs, and she says, okay, we're going to give you a place to go tonight, and then we're going to sort you out tomorrow morning, and everything else. So it was fantastic. And I remember walking with the bodyguard, and I was walking with him, and he said to me, well, now you're got down this low, Miss Presley. He says, you can start thinking about helping other people. And I stopped in my tracks and looked at him and said, sir, I've always helped other people, and I always will. And he goes, good.
And again, I do believe that he was heaven sent, because he also found you a chair to sleep in, Liz, doesn't he? And eventually they did give you the money to go to your friends, and you stayed with her for a little while, and she helped you follow your dream of singing, didn't she? And you'd perform and record the songs together.
Well, I was actually quite amazed, because here I was homeless.
Because that's in your heart. Singing was always there, wasn't it? Growing up. And then
here I was
finally
homeless.
Get on that stage and perform. It must have been such, an overwhelming, phenomenal emotional experience for you, really.
Oh yeah, well, here I was to get to that point there. Here I was homeless, and then they offered me. I was in the homeless shelter with these girls and everything, and in that girls, and we were all having fun and stuff like that. But it's also extremely dangerous. You could understand that. This is in New York City, very dangerous. And so they offered me to go and stay in this big mansion, and I was like, oh, okay, that sounds great, And from the homeless shelter to a mansion, that sounds brilliant. And they interviewed me and everything, and told me the rules. And then Irene called me and said, you're supposed to come here. I said, I can't. I said, I've got to get myself organized first before I come and see you. And she said, no, and I told her the situation, and she said, you're not doing that. You're coming here. So I said to them, oh, sorry, I can't take your mention, and you know, and I went to Irene, and then I went to Irene's house. But then from Irene's house, yes, I went on stage all over the place and sang and was doing that. But that was a challenge. That was actually interesting. That was a great part of my life. I'll always remember the beginning of going on stage when you're first home at Graceland, and people don't believe who you are, but then the people who are hiring you to go on stage do. You get things like the engineer trying to kill your sound and things like that. So here I was on stage, right, you know, and I had like this set of songs I was going to sing, and I had to, you know, be on there singing these songs and entertaining this audience of about 500 people at the time in Chicago. And then the sound guy goes, "Oh, I'll destroy this," and he turns off the sound. So I go from singing, you know, one song. Yeah, I go from singing one song to another. So I just kind of did the natural thing and just jumped from one song to another. Whatever he played, what he didn't play, I just sang a cappella. And when he did play, because what happened, I'll be singing the song, you know, a cappella, and then to the audience, and I was down by the audience singing to them, you know, and suddenly he played Wooden Heart again. So I jumped up and ran across the stage and went, "Can't you see I love you?" And so they all went kind of crazy, and they thought that was planned, but it wasn't planned. So this is the sort of thing that happened. This is the sort of thing that happened to me when I first was out there singing, you know. And then another time I went to the Aretha Franklin contest on behalf of my family, because I went to things to represent my family. I went to Chuck Berry funeral. But when I was at the Aretha Franklin concert, you know, and they were all on the stage in Chicago again, you know, they were awesome. Their voices are so high and incredible. And I was like, I'm never going to be able to compete with this. This is going to be a disaster. Anyway, so I went on stage, right? And I was like walking on stage. I said, "Now this is, you know, Elaine Presley," because, you know, to be on that, just Elaine was the president at the time. I said, "This is Elaine Presley." And so I go on the stage and I was like, "What am I going to do?" And as I was walking on stage, I was thinking, I can't sing. You know, I sing like I do compared to them people. It's going to be a disaster, you know. And so I said, "Okay." So I got on stage and I said, and I stood there and I went, "I've got to do something." And I went, and I got on my knees and I said, "Do you realize this is the feeling my dad had on stage when he was here?" I said, that's all this. I said, "Praise the Lord for Aretha Franklin, you know, the one of the most incredible singers of all time." I said, "And one of the things that we appreciate at Graceland, and we're here today from Graceland representing Aretha Franklin. Let's do a candlelight vigil."
Oh, well done. That's awesome.
And so I did a candlelight vigil, and I was so proud of that because it gave her the respect she deserved, and I didn't disaster it for Graceland, where everybody's going to laugh at me and go, "You need to go back to Graceland and get in the dungeon," you know. And so, and that was really worked for that, and I was really proud of that, you know. But if I had a sang with the people who can sing Aretha Franklin songs, it would have been a disaster.
But you do need to improvise, don't you, when you're on the stage? I mean, I've been on stage, you know, numerous times performing in musical theatre and singing, and sometimes, you know, the music will stop, and then you just got to continue singing if the music stops or not, if the DJ messes it up, because the show must go on, mustn't it? Like you say, or someone forgets their lines and you're doing panto and you just quickly, you know, sort of burst out in song or whatever, because you have to improvise, don't you? But like you say,
ad lib, don't you?
You do, but it's not always easy, and people don't realise, you know, before you go on that stage, it's quite daunting, Liz, isn't it? Because you sort of think, all eyes at me, now I'm going on stage and all going to be looking at me. But you step into character, don't you? Because I also do acting as well. And when you step into character, you are the actor. Same as singing, you step into that stage actress moment, don't you? And then next minute, you just be yourself and just perform.
Everybody, you know, whenever I do a show, I always think I'm going to be useless. You know, I never think I'm going to be good. You know, I really do. And I've decided to buy a Gretsch guitar, you know, and to go on stage. And I was with the Leonard Skinner band in Asheville, North Carolina, and I was there, and they said, "We're going to sing with you," and everything, because, you know, I was just going to sing myself on stage with a guitar for these 500 or 600 people. And for World Peace for Animals, and they said, "No, we're going to sing with you. We're going to play with you. We're going to back you." And I said, "Really? Okay." So they said, "What are we going to do?" And I said, "We're going to do That's All Right, Mama." And they said, "How does that go?" what's the chords to that? And I told them the chords and everything. And I said, it kind of goes like this. That's all right, no, Mama. That's all right. Right? And so I had this Gretsch guitar, you know, and they said, like, we kind of got it, guys. And I was like, come on, you're the Leonard Skinner band. You can get it. I said, we don't sing this sort of music normally. I said, oh, great. I said, just do this. Just make sure you do these 3 keys and follow me and everything will be great. They said, why don't you follow us? I said, no. I said, I'm not following you guys. That'd be a disaster. I said, you got to follow me because I'm going to do some crazy stuff. I said, whatever I do, you just do it. So I get on stage. Right? Yeah.
But I love that. World Peace for Animals. Being an animal lover myself, and I've got 2 cats. I just love that because I've heard of World Peace Healing Day, but World Peace for Animals because, again, especially through the pandemic, some people have been abandoning their animals on the streets.
They can't afford to keep them and things
because
like
they can't afford to keep them, and it's just been heartbreaking. I mean, where we are actually in Dorset, there's been a lot of dog snatching, unfortunately, taking place, and it's just been heartbreaking. But luckily, the police did find, I think it was about 800 or 900 dogs that were actually snatched, and return them back to their owners. Because again, the pets are part of your family, aren't they? So I don't know how anyone can be cruel to animals. So I love the fact of World Peace Day. Because it's also reminded people, you know, to treat animals with love and respect and kindness.
Oh yeah, I have 4. We have 4 dogs, 4 Yorkies. So.
Have you got 4 Yorkies? Have you? Oh, bless you. What are their names, Liz?
Yeah, it's Ridge, Paige, Fox, Ridge, Paige, Fox, and Blue. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Can we come forward a little bit in time now?
Yeah.
Tell us about My Mum's a Princess.
Oh yes. Now here's the thing about
that. How did it come about?
I said a while back that I'm going to be writing a children's book because I wanted to write a children's book. You know, so I did the serious book. And I wanted to write a children's story, and so my mum then she went and did the Love Me Tender thing, which was really great and inspiring, and it's a beautiful book. Everybody should get the Love Me Tender as well. And so then I finally got around to doing my book called My Mother is a Princess. And basically what it's about me growing up and doing the things like being on the farm, riding my bike, playing, you know, getting blackberries, getting pea picking and eggs for the, you know, chickens and things. And then, you know, going sweets from the sweet shop, singing and playing guitar and singing, making up songs and things like that. And then the whole story is My Mother is a Princess. It goes through the time when I meet my dad, and my dad, you know, passes in the story as well in the children's book of all things. And we get to the very end and I realize, oh, my mother is not a princess. My mother is a queen, and me and Lisa are the princesses. So I thought,
right.
So maybe it's going to be another book following on from it, saying, you know, that your mother's a queen and you and Lisa Marie are the princesses. Have you got that in the pipeline, do you think, Liz?
Is there a second book?
That is at the very end of that book, because it says my mother's a princess. It goes about where I'm believing my mother's a princess, you know, through my life as I do these things. And it gets to the end of the story and I find out my mum's a queen. And at the end of the story it says, oh, and Liz and Lisa are the princesses of Graceland. That's what it says.
Has Lisa co-wrote with you and anything?
Yeah, Graceland. We own Graceland Anthem together, and I will be producing that. It would be nice if Lisa would do it with me, you know, being in there with me. But
you know, co-write and things.
We own half that song each, and 50-50. And like I think she would say, I want 50% of 100%, not 50%, 25%. So
it sounds like you've been bonding quite well with Lisa.
Well, it's a different. No, well, it's not like that. It's unfortunately right now, even though it's been all these years later, it's still quite distant, but very close as well. So it's not like, it's weird because it's not like with the family I was with, that was I was very close with them, but very distant. Now with my mum and Lisa, I'm very close to them, but they're distant. I mean, they're not distant like that. I mean, we're distant miles apart. So, but I'm much closer to Lisa. When I came home, actual fact, to Graceland, people may have thought this was planned. Lots of things happened that were kind of strange. My sister was living in England, just 50 minutes away from me, and I was heading to Graceland. So she was in England, I was heading to Graceland. As soon as I got back
actually, because I thought, how ironic, you finally go home to Graceland, and then Lisa Marie comes over to the UK, doesn't she? Bless her.
Yeah. So then when I'm in Graceland, she comes back to America. Yeah. I think maybe she see me in Graceland going, That's it. I'm going home to Graceland too. You know, I don't know.
Is Lisa Marie now back over in America? Is she, bless her?
Sorry, she's back in America now. Yeah.
She's back in America now, is she?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, also, your daughter has, you know, followed in your footsteps of stardom. She was a very successful model, wasn't she, your daughter? And she also owns a couple of successful beauty businesses as well, doesn't she? You must be so proud of Alison.
Yeah, she sold that now. She lives in Beverly Hills, not too far from. Yeah, she lives not too far from my mum and from Lisa. She actually just won an award in England. She won the award. The actual in the London Film Festival, I Can Breathe. That was my daughter's production. Yeah, and she's done lots of things. She's worked with my mother's director on different things and helped with those sort of things as well. So my daughter's actually been very active, but she's more kind of in the Beverly Hills world. I'm kind of more in the Tennessee world.
And it's wonderful that you're all there supporting each other, because she's also married and she's got children, so you've got grandchildren as well. And you're such a close little family. And it's just lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, we do have a close
together at Christmas, Les, do you? Normally, I mean, obviously with COVID, it was difficult last year.
Yeah, we do. Not this last year, but a couple of years ago, we did get together before the COVID. And that was a lot of fun. And that was wonderful and everything.
I can imagine. Yeah. Have you got any special plans for this Christmas?
Oh, yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I was about to say, have you got other than the harvest time things, have you got a big get together planned? Something really big?
Big party.
Well, they just say this. I just say this. Mum, Lisa, Graceland executives, I'd like to come home to Graceland and have dinner with our family at Graceland. How's that going to be? Now they're just laughing their heads off, those Graceland executives. That one. That would be my dream, to come and do that with you guys. You know, would that be okay? If not, I'm going to arrange to have some of my cousins who are also related to Elvis Presley and my mother come to Graceland for a Graceland dinner.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
So yeah, and I'm not saying that towards Graceland meanly, but unfortunately sometimes it's positive and negative at Graceland for me, and I want to change that all to positiveness. So I figure if I joke about it and I don't get too insulted, they might actually have a little bit of a like, hey, let's give her a little bit of a break.
So if you could have one wish for Graceland for the future, what would that be, Liz?
Just to be part of Graceland and help build the wonderful things for Graceland and the future of Graceland, and the things people are going to be coming to see and doing, and representing charities, things like that, making things really, being there for my father and our legacy and our family and people, and making things happen at Graceland. I'd like to be a major part of that in the future, And I have been, as you can see.
I'm sure that you will, Liz, as well. Because you do support, don't you, actually, your dad's memorial trust as well. It's now actually been closed down, and they've opened it up, haven't they, in Whitehaven, I read in your book.
Well,
it hasn't been... support other military people, don't you?
Yeah, it hasn't been done yet. What we're doing is we're actually rebuilding the Elvis Presley VFW Memorial Post. And it actually was taken away a long time ago, but we took the name and we brought it to Whitehaven. But we haven't been able to do it yet because we got some little problems with the land we've got to sort out. And the COVID, you can't be building and people are dying on your site. We can't have that. And so we haven't got around to it yet because of this COVID thing, but we are working on that. It is in the works for the future, definitely. And I'm also going to be September 11th. I'm going to be representing my family in Memphis, Tennessee this year too.
Yourself, have you got a new single or a new album planned for this year?
I did my Scared Little Child, which is my latest single. And of course, I had to really learn about the music business so I can get all my royalties as well. And I've really put together a program for that for people as well. And so the next song I'm going to bring out will be Graceland Anthem. Then I've written a song for my sister. You see, I'd never written a letter to my sister that's very long and serious. And the reason why is because I can write, but I have this problem when I write with my hands, I get stressed out. And so I find it very difficult to sit and write. I will kind of, I can't, it's very hard nowadays. So I wrote my sister a song that is a letter, and I'm going to be releasing that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing that on the Billboard 100, maybe.
Well, I would love to have a hit record, because that's good. It's obviously a good goal to do. If you're a doctor, you want to save all his lives, if you're a singer, you want to have a hit record, of course you do. That would be lovely. but if it doesn't happen,
Billboard 100, that's the one, isn't it, to aim for? Billboard 100, here I come, and I should look out for it over the next few weeks and months to see where you are.
Yeah, if we can do that, if we can get one on the Billboard 100, that'd be great. But then, you know, a lot of people throughout the world have to know me more, you know, and stuff like that. It makes me interested to know what would happen if, because obviously I'm out here now doing my thing and everything. If if Graceland will promote me a little bit, how things would actually be, you know, because so far things have been quite good. When I've done my foundation work and charity work, I've been received nicely, which is lovely because obviously I'm genuine. And when I've done my record,
I present a country show here in England in a local radio station, and during the country show, I'm often looking at the Billboard 100, and we see that the movement of the artists is so quick.
Yeah,
you've got so many new artists coming in and so many coming down. It's very quick moving, isn't it? The Billboard 100.
Just get on there in a flash. There I am. Quickly take a picture. Show of the world. I've been #1. Look. Next day, off I go. Not top 100. You know.
So what are your dreams for the future, Liz, with your music? Where would you like to see yourself in a year's time from today with your music?
What I'm doing, I'm always improving the quality of what I'm delivering, you know, constantly improving that. And so I want to release new songs. I want to do more movies. I'm in a movie called Chore coming out in 2022. I want to do more movies. I love doing movies. And I want to do more songs, and I want to do more things with Graceland, and I want to do more things with my family. And that's it, really. I'm a family girl, you know. So it's not about, it's not about Elvis Presley's really big and famous. My sister, my mum's really big and famous. Let me kind of live off all that. It's not like that, you know. I have to work hard in order to deliver what I deliver to the world. So it's like my sister's delivering, my mum's delivering, my dad's obviously delivering, I'm delivering, and I have to work hard at the quality of all that all the time. You know, so it's not like I'm just living off your family. It's actually hard work, you know, being an artist and trying to deliver something that's good that people want to hear and listen to, and you write good things and stuff like that. So really behind the scenes, the whole thing is hard work. It's natural for me to be home at Graceland. It's natural for me to be like my dad and my mum too, actually. And it's natural for me just to be me. But you still have to work hard to make things happen. It's not just like you're there going, oh, I'm Elvis Presley's kid, love me. It doesn't work that way, you know?
No, it doesn't. So what do you do to relax then, Liz? Do you do meditation? I mean, I teach meditation to my students. Do you do meditation or anything like that, just to sort of zone out and just relax and switch off?
I do. I do sit down and do a little bit of meditation and look after and play with my little doggies and, you know, be with my family and that sort of thing and stuff like that. I'm a big family girl, so really it's just around my family really more than anything else, and to be honest with you. You know, I don't go and out partying and stuff like that, because you have to remember, being me, it's, you know, when you're out there doing things, you're kind of you all the time, you know, it's not like a part-time thing. You can't suddenly quit. So, you know, you're out there, you're trying to be there for people, but I spend a lot of time with my family, because every time you're out there with people, it's that fame moment, and that sometimes can get tough, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned earlier that Cliff Richard was also your inspiration as well as your dad as a child growing up. Yeah. Was there any other celebrities that were an inspiration for you in the music and entertainment industry?
Yeah, Bill Haley and the Comets, you know, Chubby Checker, you know, the what's it called?
Kind of hillbilly sound, is that right? The hillbilly sound?
Yeah, they get you kind of the hillbilly sound, but rock and roll sound as well. Like I also like Hermie Hermit. I would like, you know, like different styles. Really, I like a lot of artists, really, you know, because they all have something to deliver that's beautiful. But I was really stuck around with the rock and roll when I was younger. Cliff Richard was very influential in my life when my dad died, because when my dad died, I was very angry, and so therefore I turned to Cliff Richard because he believed in God, and I decided to follow that path. In actual fact, it's Cliff Richard that kept me off the streets. You know, well, kept me off drugs on the streets in London when I was very first on there. I just thought about how Cliff Richard would be, and I was being like that. And then, of course, I was very lost when my dad died, became even more lost. And it took until 2013 for me to become unlost. So yeah, Cliff Richard.
I love Cliff Richard. He's another inspiration to the world, isn't he, Cliff? Because he does amazing work. And
Yeah,
he never seems to
you
age
are
as well.
my
He always looks fantastic,
melody.
doesn't he, Cliff, when you see him? And say he never gives up, does he? Same as Tom Jones. He's another inspiration to the world, and I believe he's going to be touring again soon, isn't he, Tom?
And he's got
So
a
Tom
new
joined
single.
us.
It's the Tom Jones is the oldest person now to have a #1 album, I believe.
Yeah, well, we've only got one thing to say about Tom Jones.
Last
Okay.
couple of weeks.
But yeah, well, Tom Jones,
Have
Cliff
you actually
Richard.
met Sir Tom Jones or Cliff Richard yet?
Let me explain to you now. Well, Cliff Richard, I'd love to meet. I haven't met him yet because I've been fighting being home at Graceland for all these years. You know,
That
and
might happen this year. You never know.
yeah,
Dreams do come true, isn't they?
but Tom Jones, I've got a message for Tom Jones. Tom Jones,
Yes.
stay away from Mum.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Okay. So how can people get a hold of your books, Liz? To actually purchase your books, Kid of the King and My Mother's a Princess.
Yeah, they're actually on Amazon, and you can get a soft cover, or you can get a digital cover, and it's been released worldwide. Also, some of the major bookstores like Barnes and Noble and things like that, you can also get it from as well. So yes.
And also your songs are on Spotify, because I noticed you sent some to me the other day. Are they on all of the musical platforms, Liz? You actually have songs for people to download as well?
Yes, and what I've done, of course, obviously, you know, I've gone from Elaine Elizabeth Presley as my stage name, which is my real name, to Liz Presley. So I've only just released the Scared Little Child because I wanted to kind of get rid of the songs I first did when I first came home because they were crap because of the production and things like that. And now Liz Presley with perfect music, you know.
We're looking out for Liz Presley, and that's your stage name?
Liz Presley,
Liz, not Elaine?
No, Liz Presley. Liz Presley, because that's my new level at home at Graceland, you know, the new image, Liz Presley. Instead of Elaine Elizabeth Presley making all these rubbish records, you know, Liz Presley making good records with good covers and good quality photos, delivering to the world.
Well, you've got a natural talent, Liz, and I think you've got a fantastic voice.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You've got a fantastic voice and a stage presence as well. And I think you're going to inspire a lot of people, you know, no matter what's thrown at them in life, never to give up. But also the music and the entertainment industry is not an easy path. I mean, I've been in it since a child, off and on. And, you know, if at first you don't succeed, try again, because eventually you will reach your destination. And so many people do give up because there's also a lot of rejection, isn't there, in the music and entertainment industry? But it's always knowing that you are the key at the end of the day, and you know, just be yourself and find your raw talent and then nurture it. So what advice would you give to somebody, Liz, before you know, we run out of time, to somebody that wants to embark either down the path of singing or becoming an author
or an actor,
or even an actor? What advice would you like to give to them, Liz?
Okay, I've always, you know, separate the two things, like who I am as a person, a child of Graceland, you know, and a singer. The two different things. One's my family, that's who they are, and so I'm proud to be part of my family, which I'd never want to leave that, obviously, because it's my real family. And then of course my singing career. So you have to ask yourself, you have to say to yourself, sit down, literally sit down, you know, and say, okay, what do I want to do with my life, right? And if you say, I really want to try to be a doctor, then go and do that. But if you say to yourself, I want to be a singer and I don't want to do anything else, that's the only thing I want to do in my life, then do that. But if you say you want to be a doctor and try to be a singer, you won't be a singer.
Yes.
Yeah, go where your heart is. Go where your soul is.
Story to tell.
Yeah, go where your soul is leading you to be.
And also you can express it for your songs, can't you? You can share your life for your songs, which is also can be part of your healing as well, and help other people, can't it?
Yeah, when I first went to the studio, and I didn't learn, because obviously I wasn't allowed to sing when I was younger, even though I did sing, because I just sung on my own, you know. And because I was young, and you know, and I was like dancing, like all the things my dad does is natural, and it's natural what I do too. So I do those natural things, and some of the older people loved it on the seaside. You know, imagine doing that, singing rock and roll songs, even though I was terrible, but they did it. You know, they loved it. When I first went into the studio and I sang my songs, you know, and I was singing Cliff Richard songs at the time, and the producer, I said, "What do you think?" And he says, he says, "Have you ever thought of having any singing lessons?" I said, "Huh? What do you mean?" He said, you could work on your breathing a little bit, you know. I said, oh, okay. So, so off I go, you know, working on my breathing.
It's all about the diaphragm, Liz, isn't it? You know, because I do opera as well, and you've got to take a lot of breath when you sing opera, even more so than in contemporary, isn't it? And it's just expanding that, you know, diaphragm, because with opera, I have to warm up 10 minutes before I start to sing a song, whereas with contemporary, it's not quite so long, is it, like you say?
No.
But once you do, you'd be amazed the sound that comes off of the breath, because a lot of people will sing the back of the throat, and it does affect your nodules. You can get nodules in as well, and it make your vocal cords sort of sound a bit gruffy. Whereas you know, if you sing correctly and have vocal training, you do protect getting nodules on your throat, but you also strengthen the diaphragm and it expands, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and so now I've got the hang of it now. And when I first when I first came home, you know, and I went on because basically I realized who I was in 2013, and I said, oh my goodness, because I went from having no confidence, right, literally no confidence and kind of shaking, you know, and being scared all the time, and suddenly I realized who I was, and I had this confidence. I was like, I'm going to go and sing a song. So I went on stage to sing a song, and I got up and he said, why do you sound so much like Elvis Presley? I said, because I'm Lane Presley's. Yeah. And that was the time when I was naive, you know, I think I could just come home to Graceland and sing and be happy and be that rock. And I'm disciplined now, but I was just a wild rock and roller coming home to Graceland, and I was kicking ass. And you know, pardon my language, sorry, Mum. And then I had to learn to calm down because they beat me to a pulp in order to calm down, you know.
Oh, bless you. And you love rock and roll, and you're fantastic at singing rock and roll as well, aren't you?
Yeah, and I love going on stage singing to people, you know, to people and everything. And I give them roses in honor of my mum now as well, and my grandma and stuff like that, and two grandmas, and I deliver those to people and support people as well who are not well and things like that. So I really, truly, when I go on stage, you know, it's about the audience, it's about delivering to them something, and I get a lot of pleasure out of that. You know, I don't get a pleasure out of. It's not like I get up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I'm really famous, you know, I'm so good, let me go out there and do my thing. No, I get a pleasure when somebody smiles and make them happy, and I do a good job. Mm-hmm.
Just like that song, what have you done today to make you feel proud? Isn't it?
Exactly. I was on here and I saw this. Yeah, you asked me before, you know, about my appreciation of basically, I always appreciate the fact that I'm healthy, touch wood so far, drop something, healthy so far. And that's the number one thing, you know, I've got a great family and I can do what I'm doing. Just before I got on here, actually, I put a little comment for somebody who was sick, who just had cancer, and put a little comment for them because that was important to me, you know, and some things like that. So when you see me home, you see me on stage singing and doing my thing, I'm there for people. I'm there to make them happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got some wonderful fans as well that support you for all the work that you do, don't they?
And not only that, I have one, you know,
and a wonderful family too, and wonderful friends supporting you.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. This is interesting. The world works in mysterious ways with my father and everything. So, you know, my cousins, I've got hundreds of cousins as well that I love dearly.
Oh, bless you.
That are also kind of a protection for me, because it's like, you know, like, you're not alone for this. I say, oh, really? Well, these are all my cousins. Try telling them that.
Well, I think definitely a party's in order, isn't it? You know, to get the whole family, all your cousins together and all celebrate. And hopefully soon it will be the end of COVID, because it has been
that's what I want to do at Graceland.
You know, for people all over the world, especially in India recently as well.
Oh yeah, I want to do that.
Unfortunately, we have actually sort of run out of time now. I could talk to you for hours, and I would love to interview you again. Like, and I just hope next time we don't have any problems with the sound. So sorry about that.
No worries.
You know, and also to all of our viewers as well. We have had a few problems with the internet here in Dorset, unfortunately, and also with the sound. So I just hope that everybody can hear us. And to be honest, Tony and I are just truly grateful, Liz, that you've allowed us to interview you, to hear your remarkable story and everything that you have achieved and continue to achieve, and supporting those to shine bright.
Can I also ask you, Liz, is it okay if maybe a few weeks' time we do a follow-up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can. Yeah,
we're interested to see how you're going and things like that. Especially your music career.
I am to get further in my career now. You know, it's the last 7 years have been interesting because I had to go through a federal investigation for 7 years, and that was a long journey. So I've now got through that. So now I can actually do my job and more so and deliver more to the world.
We would love to definitely interview you, Liz, maybe in June or July. I shall keep in contact with you and update you, and we'll book you in. As I say, we'll interview you again. But
Deborah,
thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz.
To Moynor and his lovely wife as well for supporting us with the show, and to all of our viewers that have watched. And so sorry, as I say at the beginning, once again, we had a few technical differences, but just hope that you've been able to hear us all for the rest of the show as well. And thank you so much, Liz, for this wonderful opportunity. And keep shining bright, keep doing the amazing work that you're doing. You know, you're a remarkable lady, and I'm blessed to be able to interview you today with Tony.
Thank you, and thank you so much
Liz,
for having me. Thank you for having me.
God bless you and your beautiful family as well, and all of the amazing work that you do.
God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you. Bye
Thank
for
you.
now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye.